Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. My name is Nick and today guys we're jumping on down into the world of XRP, taking a look at what's been going on most recently with the recent price action and what I think might actually happen next. Now as I get into this video, if you find it useful and informative, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, then why not go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. Now if you have not yet joined us in Discord, the link is in the description down below. It's a fantastic community talking crypto 24/7. It's completely free and I don't think you'll be disappointed by what you find down there, so why not go ahead and check that out today. And also in the description down below you're going to find two additional very important links. The first one is to our Patreon services where we offer a lot more for Patreon members via Discord, everything from buying and selling and staking signals of what me and Chris are up to ourselves, and of course trading, we've got project reviews, we've got AMAs, and a whole host of other benefits as well. So if that's your bag, why not check that out? And the second thing down there as well is going to be the new Cheeky podcast. This is a free service available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and also on YouTube. It's a fantastic way of staying up to date with all the latest kind of news and events of what's happening in crypto on your daily commute into the office. So if that sounds appealing to you, why not check that one out in the description down below. Okay, let's waste no more time though. Let's get right on into this. XRP paired up with USDT on the hourly chart. Binance is the data source. Now, with this, I want to talk about the recent kind of price action, but I also want to kind of zoom out a little bit and talk about where things are heading, in my opinion. Now, do remember that I'm not a financial advisor. I cannot give you financial advice, but I am going to give you my thoughts and opinions on what I think is going on here with the price action of XRP. You should absolutely do your own research, and you should absolutely not buy or sell or do any kind of investment on anything that I'm saying in this video. It should never be considered as financial advice. If you do have access to a financial advisor, you should probably go and consult them instead. Okay, let's get into this though, right? So essentially we have seen this kind of pullback to the downside, and it's pretty extreme. It's come down pretty nicely here, and we have obviously bounced up a little bit, right? And if we actually grab hold of our percentage points, we can see that we've actually rallied up, what, 17.47%. So pretty reasonable there. Now this is actually unusual. I wasn't really expecting to kind of see this kind of push up the way that it has done, but that being said, it is what it is, and we'll talk about what's going on there. Now from this upper side, this wave 4 here, I think this is a reasonably obvious one, but it is basically tracking as a 5-wave structure to the downside. Okay, so when we have 5 waves like this, let me actually just come up here for a second and just go through some of these basics. We have 3-wave structures, okay, and then we have a 5-wave structures, okay. Now 5-wave structures tend to be what is known as a trend-based pattern, okay? And basically this is a trend in that direction. Now you can have these go down, you can have them go up, okay? But when you see 5 waves, you can think of that as a really strong move in that direction, okay? We have 3 moves up with 2 counter moves, okay? And then of course we have a 3-wave structure. Now this 3-wave structure is often referred to as a corrective structure. The corrective structure itself comes in many different forms. We've got the ABC, and there's also a WXY, right? Both of these are exactly the same. The only thing that actually allows you to understand the difference between these is the wave counts inside them. Typically, a, B, and C structure would consist of having a 5-wave structure somewhere inside it, whereas a WXY tends to just not have that, okay? So for the most part in crypto, you actually see a lot more WXY moves than you see ABCs, but they're all 3-wave structures. I use ABC because it's easier to roll off the tongue, but technically speaking, it might not be the right move for those particular waves. That being said, you have ABC down, that's a corrective move down, and of course you can have your 3-wave structure upwards, also corrective up. Now when we say corrective, we mean short term, which basically means that this is going to be really short. It's not going to be a long-winded trend such as a 5-wave move. It has 2 moves up or 2 moves down and 1 counter to it, okay? So when I come back into here and we see we have a 5-wave move down, that basically means that we're trending down, right? We're trending down here at the beginning of this 4th wave. Now, ultimately, a 5-3-5 structure, or a 5-wave move like this, for example, would actually have 5 waves inside wave 1. It has 5 waves inside wave 3, and it typically would have 5 waves inside wave 5, right? And then we have in these counter moves just 3-wave structures going down on each of these, right? So we have a what is called a 5-3-5-3-5. Essentially, we have 5 waves here. If I can draw an arrow, we have 3 waves just here in this first counter move. We have 5 waves over here. we have then a counter move of 3 waves, and then finally we have a 5-wave move. So it's a 5, 3, 5, 3, 5, right? And there's a lot of things to kind of think about there, but join us in Discord. I've got a lot more material on anyway theory that will help you understand what's going on here. But essentially we have the first 5 waves down, right? And therefore we're looking for a 3-wave move coming up here. So essentially we're looking at this wave 2, a wave 2 being 3 waves. And if we have a look at this, we can basically see and acknowledge that we've kind of got this overextension going on. I don't think this is necessarily finished just yet. And our wave C here could potentially continue upwards. So what I mean by this is there's many different types of corrective structure. I'm not going to go through them all in this video. There's just too many of them to really talk about. But essentially, we've kind of got a 3-3-5 is a corrective form. And basically, we're ending with 5 waves, in my opinion. So what I actually am looking at here is a potential wave 1 or wave 2. This move here is wave 3, this being our wave 4. We push up ever so slightly higher into a 5th wave. That is not necessarily a trend-based pattern like I'm talking about on this side, because it actually has a 3-3-5 structure that leads into it, okay? And it's a micro movement in comparison. So we actually have this ABC structure just here. It's really hard to see that. And then we have another one just here as well, okay? So essentially we have a 3-3-5. Now a 3-3-5 is basically just an ABC structure taking us up higher, so we can acknowledge that. Now, with that being said, and being able to identify this, it gives us the ability then to kind of be a little bit predictive. Now, obviously, there are things that can go wrong, and, you know, we might only have a 3-wave move coming up, and this wave 3 here is actually, you know, that's it, done, right? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark that up with a horizontal line. That high was 35.9. Now, as we come down into our lower range at the beginning of our wave 1, that actually was 30.85 cent, okay, and that was actually an important one to kind of remember. But I want the high top area of wave 1 just up here, and this is 33.1. Now 33.1 is a very important number, as is 35.9, for 2 very specific reasons. One, it's obviously a support line, previous resistance that was broken through. But also this would invalidate a 4th wave. If we were to drop down lower than 33.1 cent, essentially it would mean that we're not in a 5-wave structure upwards. We know it's not a 3-3-5, it's just a 3-3-3, and that's it, done, right? At 35.9, that would be the corrective move done within that sector. Of course, it does mean that we can still push up higher in a different wave structure, but for the most part, that part of this corrective move would be done. So 33.1 is a very important number for invalidation purposes. If, of course, we are actually able to hold this area, and let's hypothetically say we just come down to approximately here, which would be about 33.2. If we were to come just down ever so slightly lower, and that would actually mean that we are above 33.1, and we can then look at a 5th wave going higher. Now, to measure out a 5th wave, what we do is we take the measurement of the top of wave 4 down to the bottom of this wave 4. Okay, so I'm just going to hypothetically say that we go down to 33.28. Okay, just because that's an area of support to be found somewhere approximately around here. But you know, it could fluctuate. It doesn't have to be there. And on that particular ground, we would move up to a 1.236 or a 1.618 on this Fibonacci retracement. Okay, so this particular area is the zone that we would then aim for. Now, obviously, this is an approximate area because we don't know where the bottom of wave 4 is going to be. And as we move wave 4, we would move our targets, right? So the higher or lower that wave 4 goes, it changes our wave 5, right? So they relate to each other. So what we find is we have to kind of wait until wave 4 is done so that we can then see where we think this is likely to go. Now, in terms of that, it looks like we are probably either in 2 different scenarios, right? Going down lower than 33.1, basically, I think we're probably starting our move down to the lower side. If, however, we are able to get reversals coming up and we go higher than 35.9, then I would estimate that we're going to be somewhere between 36.5 and 37.5 cent approximately. But of course, it really depends on where wave 4 goes. This would essentially complete the correction for wave 2. Likewise, though, it could also be complete down here depending on what happens next. And once that is done, then we are essentially talking about dropping down into a wave 3 low. And again, wave 3 relates to how high wave 2 goes, right? So it could be more predictive about where this ends up. We really need to see wave 2 being complete. Now, it is possible, just focusing in on the micro movements just here, that we are going to break down lower than 33.1, right? So we'll have our bullish kind of sentiment here that we push up a little bit. And for the most part, our stochastic on the hourly would support that. The 4 hourly would support that. The 8 hourly is correcting pretty nicely, so it could also support that. The daily, on the other hand, does need to see deeper corrections. So it's possible that we actually start a deeper corrective move, taking us down lower before we actually surge up any further. So just to kind of bear these things in mind, this could also be the start of a decline. But I would also just want to look at this as a corrective move at the moment, saying it's basically a WX, potentially Y, just coming down ever so slightly lower. But we want to stay above 33.1 if we want to be bullish and we want to kind of just push up the price ever so slightly higher. Ultimately, though, this is all kind of, short-term stuff. It isn't major thinking or anything like that. Because essentially, if I zoom on out, if I just jump up into the 4 hourly chart here, you can kind of see that we are still tracking to the downside, where I do estimate XRP's lows to be somewhere between 23.8 and 26.7. In order to invalidate any of these lows, we're going to have to move up very, very high, up towards 54.89 cents to go higher than wave 1. As I said, wave 4 is not allowed to cross wave 1. So if that was to go all the way up there, that would invalidate it. But of course, we're quite away from that particular journey, and it's incredibly unlikely. So for the most part, we are looking at moving on down here. Basically, we're looking for a 5-3-5 3-5 structure, as we kind of explained earlier, right? So we've had the first 5 waves down. We're looking for the 3-wave move up here, which is complex. It's a 3-3-5 structure, in my opinion, at the moment, unless proven otherwise by dropping down lower than 33.1 cent. And then basically we're looking for another 5-wave drop to take us probably down towards some of these key areas, probably around 26 cent or so, before we bounce up into a wave 4 and then drop down into the final lows afterwards. Once this is done, if I jump up into an 8-hour chart, essentially that would actually mark the end of our corrective move, which would be, in my opinion, a 3-3-5 structured move all the way to the downside here, essentially. So we would be looking at this as a move here. Let me find where our bearings are. So this would have to be our drop right here, basically 1, 2, 3, 4, and then pushing on down into these lows. So all of this here is looking pretty corrective. Let me just pull this up in here, section just here, for example. You can see wave 1, wave 2, wave 3 coming down, wave 4, and then finally wave 5. So essentially, we're tracking quite nicely. Now, if we would review this, we do have our 3-wave move here. The 5-wave move here is actually out of place, but I think there's a lot of FOMO around this particular area. But nonetheless, we started the trend and then we broke down from it. Essentially, what we have here is a 3-3-5 structure moving down, and essentially this on a macro scale just becomes a big A, B, and C structure like so, a little overextending beyond the 1-to-1 ratio, but essentially that would mark the bottom of this corrective move altogether, and it is all corrective patterns. There's nothing more to it. And of course, if I come up even further and I jump up into our daily chart here, we have obviously been analyzing the macro. Let me just remove the stocks there, for example, as an A, B, C, D, E breaking down into this 5-wave extended move. And basically it's a 3-3-5 structure that could potentially break this triangle. It is pushing the limits on it. Essentially, it does still looks like a B wave regardless of whether the triangle is there, but it would change the output of our macro C wave. But we are looking for explosive moves to the upside on XRP long term, where I would estimate, moving it to at least around the $6 range based on these current lows and the 1-to-1 ratio with our A wave. So for the most part, everything XRP is looking pretty good. We're looking for some pretty good accumulation zones, and then we're basically just going to hodl it and ride it up. And I do think that the SEC versus Ripple lawsuit is going to be a huge catalyst for FOMO, regardless of the outcome. I think ultimately, though, it'll probably end in settlement. I've been saying this since 2020, and I do think that's probably the most likely outcome. Because I don't think really the SEC want to risk a loss. I think that would be really devastating to their agenda, which obviously means that they wouldn't necessarily be able to, participate in suing further cryptocurrency firms. And obviously on the flip of this, if the SEC were to win, that would be incredibly bad for the entire crypto space, where this particular case could be used as precedent. So we should be concerned about the lawsuit, regardless of how we feel about XRP. But I do think that regardless to the outcome, once this is actually over and we have conclusions, clarity should be provided. With clarity, I think the US will be able to relist it and the FOMO will come in nice, thick and fast, as we had seen with the Kin Interactive case where that was classed as a security. They need to give 45 days notice, all that usual kind of stuff. And we still went up thousands upon thousands of percent under the right criteria. So obviously we've got to bear in mind that we are in a different climate economically. So we'll see how that kind of plays on things. But essentially this is looking pretty good long term here for XRP. So guys, I'm going to leave the video there. If you have found this useful and informative, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, then why not go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. With all that said, done and out of the way, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.